Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I am a woman on a mission to gather a cadre of writers, thinkers, and teachers who are transforming the world one character at a time. And it all comes down to one thing: understanding human motivation, why people do what they do, and the forces that drive them. Well, this is a series on writing with emotion. It's for anyone who's purchased my book and might be finding it a bit dense, or who, if you're waiting for my book to arrive, this is a great way to get started and get to know the terminology present in this book before the book arrives. But don't worry, if you don't have my book, you'll still get great value from it because you'll learn the basis of this system and you'll be able to make a good use of it just with the common sense and what you'll learn in this series. So whether or not you have this book or if it's in your future, this is a great way to get started with the concepts of writing with emotion and understanding where the emotions in your story can come from and how you can convey them effectively to your reader. So we've been working on the voices that show up when your character is making a decision. And we'll find out that although there are 3 voices, there are 5 different combinations of those voices that are important. And we're going to look at the first combination today. We're going to learn about something called the Rudder traits. We're going to learn about the idea of a character profile diagram and the Rudder position on the character profile diagram. And before it's over, you're going to have some tricks that you can use to put into place in your writing right now, whether you have the book or not. So come on over to the down-facing camera and let's talk about the Rudder character traits. See you over there. All right, for a quick review of last time, we identified 3 voices in our last episode: struggle, loss, and victory. And we said that the voice of struggle is rational. It deals with the facts of the matter, and it's tied to the specific character trait that the decision needs to be made concerning. And we took 3 examples: orderliness, moderation, and courtesy, to see how 3 different character traits would have a voice of the struggle that was specific to that trait. We saw that the voice of loss was nagging, bullying. It beats our character down. It's not on our character's side. It only gives a voice of discouragement. And we took our same 3 character traits: orderliness, moderation, and courtesy, and we saw how that voice of loss might sound. We looked at the voice of victory, how it was the cheerleader for our character, how it boosts him and helps him feel that he can accomplish his goals. And again, those same 3 character traits, we took them through and saw what the voice of victory sounds like. Victory is your coach. So now today we're going to take a look at what kind of a character trait positioning do you have when all 3 voices are present. You might be surprised that that isn't always the case. And since it's most easy to imagine that all 3 voices are present, that's where we're going to start. And we're going to say that a character trait where all 3 voices are present in the mind of your character, that's going to mean that that character trait is in what we'll call the Rudder position. And here's why we call it that. Your character is free to make a choice for or against reason. He's free to listen to the voice of victory or listen to the voice of loss. Since that choice can go either way, it's very much in the conscious control of your character. This is not always true of character traits, and as we go through the coming days, we're going to see how the character trait feels if different voices are absent. So that's going to be something to look forward to. But right now we're looking at the case where all 3 voices are present and the character is aware of the fact that he's actually making a decision. Because those decisions steer the boat, if you will, if the boat is the course of your character's life, the story that you're writing, those decisions that your character makes are going to drive your story. They're going to be enormously powerful for controlling the direction that your character is going to go in. That's going to be how he motivates his behavior. And that's why we call it a rudder trait. They're the traits that affect the direction that the character is actively going in. And when you change direction, it's because of a decision that is made when the character trait is in what we're going to call the rudder position. Okay, we've said rudder trait. Now I'm throwing in a slightly different word, rudder position. What might that be? Well, that refers to where we're going to write the character trait on something that we're going to call the character profile diagram. We're going to have a lot of character traits to work from. If you follow with me through this whole mini course, you're going to get introduced to 28 different character traits. That's a lot to keep in your head. Well, we're not going to keep them in our head. We're going to track which ones are pertinent for the character that you're writing about and where it falls on this character profile diagram. And in the coming days, we're going to learn that the various positions on this diagram reflect which voices are active in the minds of your character. But right now, today, we're going to look only at this yellow line that goes across the middle from A to B. So we would say that if we placed a character trait here and wrote it next to this dot, we'd say it was a rudder trait. Likewise, if we wrote it next to this dot, we'd say it was a rudder trait also. We have two places on the character profile diagram where we can write rudder traits, here or here. Now, this is a rather complicated diagram, and we don't really need all of the color and fancy stuff when we're trying to capture character traits for a number of characters in our story. So I'm going to present a simplified version. I hope you can see that in effect, this simplified version captures the essence of this colorful version. And we would actually write the rudder traits here and here on the simplified version. So now we've got two different words, rudder trait and rudder position, and they're really basically synonymous. They mean the same thing. A trait that's in the rudder position is a trait we'd call a rudder trait. And if we were going to write the rudder trait on a character profile diagram, we'd put it in the rudder position. So it just depends on which way you're thinking of it. If you're thinking of it pictorially, then you're going to say it's in the rudder position. If you're thinking of it from the standpoint of your character himself, then you're going to be saying it's a rudder trait. But either way you go, whether you talk about it as a rudder trait or being in the rudder position, the key thing to remember is that the decision could go either way. And it could go either way because all three voices are present in the mind of your reader, and he's very conscious of them. But let's take a quick example to show how we would write them down on the character profile diagram. Suppose you had a character who had all three voices present for loyalty. He might be loyal and he might not. All three voices present for generosity. He might be generous and he might not. Then where we would put them on the character profile diagram is we'd put them in the simplified diagram. We'd put them at either side of this center bar. And if we were using the colorful character profile diagram, then we would put them on the yellow line that crosses the center of that diagram. We would put loyalty on one side and generosity on the other. So for a quick review, the three voices help hinder or cause our character to ponder what he might do. And those three voices are the voice of the struggle, the loss, and the victory. And a character profile of a character can go on a diagram that can capture a large number of different character traits and how the character experiences those in terms of the three voices. And again, the three voices in your character's head reveal his power to decide. When all three voices are present, we call it a rudder trait, and the character is very free to make a decision either way. Now, tomorrow, we're going to begin to explore what happens when one of those voices is missing, and we'll take a look at that tomorrow. So come back tomorrow to find out which voice we're dropping out and how that affects your character's experience of the character trait. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed seeing how all three voices can show up in a given character when they're in the process of making a decision. And if your character has the ability to make a free decision, then all three of those voices will actually be present. So here's your writing tip. If you are in a story and you want to show your reader that your character made a conscious decision after thinking about it, and he made a clear and conscious decision to make a certain choice that drives your story, then show your reader all three voices in action. All you need to do is show those three voices playing in your character's head, and your reader will immediately understand that your character is about to make a decision and that it's a free and conscious decision. They don't even have to have taken this mini course. They don't have to understand anything about the rudder position, that those rudder character traits along the middle drive your story with the decisions that your character makes. Your reader doesn't have to know any of that. Just he'll recognize those three voices, and intrinsically he will understand that the character is making a choice, that the decision could go either way, and the character has consciously made that choice. You will have conveyed that to your reader, because this is how decisions are actually made. When a free choice that is consciously made comes out of a character, it comes out of the rudder position. There's no other way. And tomorrow, in the next episode, we're going to take a look at how does the picture change when one of those voices drops out. So be sure to come back tomorrow for the next episode in Finding Your Characters in the Zettelkasten. And by the way, if you belong to LiLLiPub, then you can find over there a link to a PDF file that is updated with every episode that gives you all the cards that I show in these episodes. It's all available as a PDF file that you can download and see how the Zettelkasten cards come together. It's a premium for anyone who belongs to LiLLiPub.org. Now, LiLLiPub.org isn't free, but it's on the order of the cost of a premium coffee per month. It's really quite economical. So we've priced it to be at the point where if you want it, chances are you can afford it. LiLLiPub.org, and check out the circle for Kathleen's character traits, and if you're interested, the circle for Zettelkasten. And in both places, you'll find a link to that PDF file where you can find the cards from this episode and all of the episodes together. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.